My name is Lena, and for 7 long years I have lived far away from the life I once thought would be mine forever. 7 years since I packed a small suitcase and walked out of my marriage with trembling hands and a heart that felt too heavy for my chest. 7 years since I heard the last cruel words from my mother-in-law, blaming me for everything her son did. People say time heals. Maybe it does. But there are wounds that don't disappear. They simply grow quiet. I returned to my hometown on a warm summer afternoon. The sun hung low, painting everything in soft gold. The air smelled like dry grass, dust, and memories. As I walked toward my parents' gate, the wooden boards creaked under my hand, exactly the same way they had when I left all those years ago. I breathed in slowly, hoping the familiar smell of home would calm me. It didn't. My chest still tightened, just like it used to when I lived with Daniel and his family, always waiting for someone to accuse, to judge, to shout. I thought coming home would feel safe, but nothing felt safe the moment I saw him. He stood a few meters away, right in the middle of the old road, where the dust lifted around his shoes with every small gust of wind. For a second, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, it was really him. Daniel, my ex-husband, the man I once loved with everything in me, the man who broke me without even looking back. He looked older, not old, just heavier somehow. The lines on his face were deeper, his shoulders slightly bent forward, as if life had been pressing on him more than he wanted to admit. His hair had a few threads of gray near his temples, and for a strange, painful second, I remembered how soft it used to feel under my fingers. He didn't speak immediately. He just stared. It was the kind of stare that holds 1,000 questions, 1,000 regrets, and 1,000 memories neither of us knew how to carry. I felt the ground beneath me go still. "Lena," he whispered at last. The sound of my name in his voice hit me like a quiet shock. I had tried so hard to forget that voice. Steady, warm, the kind that once made me feel safe. But now it only reminded me of betrayal, of nights waiting alone, of lies whispered in the dark. I straightened my shoulders, trying to push down the shaking feeling inside me. "What are you doing here, Daniel?" I asked softly. He shifted, looking toward my parents' house, then back at me. His eyes were nervous, unsure, almost pleading. It was strange. He had never looked like that before, not even when everything fell apart. "My parents," he began, swallowing hard. "They came to talk to you." My stomach tightened. Of course they did. His mother, who always walked into every room like she owned it. His mother, who had once barged into my parents' house screaming that I ruined her son's reputation. His mother, who refused to listen to anything that didn't match the image she wanted to protect. And his father, quiet, distant, watching everything like a silent judge who rarely spoke. I closed my eyes for a moment. I didn't want to see any of them. Not now, not ever. But life has a way of bringing back the past when you least expect it. Daniel stepped closer, the dry leaves under his feet making a small crackling sound. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice low. "Just for a moment. Please." There was a softness in his tone I didn't remember. Something fragile, almost afraid. And despite everything, the pain, the betrayal, the years, a part of me felt the old ache of wanting answers. I nodded slowly. We walked to the old wooden bench under the apricot tree, the one where I used to sit as a teenager reading novels and dreaming of a love that would be simple, honest, pure. Funny how dreams can be so different from reality. The bench creaked when we sat, a sound from my childhood, a sound that somehow made everything feel real again. The wind moved between the leaves above us, carrying the sweet smell of ripe fruit. I watched one apricot fall to the grass with a soft thud. Something about it felt symbolic, things falling quietly, unnoticed. Daniel leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at his hands as if the truth was written in the lines of his palms. 7 years, he said quietly. 7 years and you never spoke to me again. I didn't know if he expected an apology, but I wasn't going to give one. You never gave me a reason to, I replied. My voice didn't shake, but something inside me did. He nodded, as if he deserved that answer. Maybe he did. Silence stretched between us, thick, heavy, full of the things we had not said for far too long. You know how my mother is, he finally murmured. She thinks you should come back. She says we can fix things. I let out a soft, bitter laugh, the kind of laugh that hides old wounds. Your mother blamed me for everything, I said quietly. She said I destroyed the family. She didn't even want to hear why I left. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. I know, he whispered. She still believes. I'm sure she does, I cut in. His mother never changed. She never listened. She never cared about the truth. Daniel opened his mouth again, but his words sounded uncomfortable, heavy. She told me you left because you couldn't accept my mistakes. My heart clenched. Mistakes. The word felt too small, too clean for what he had done. Mistakes, I repeated softly. Is that what you call them now? He looked at me then, really looked. His eyes were full of something messy and painful. Shame, maybe. Regret. Fear. I wasn't sure, but I did know one thing. There was something he wasn't saying, something he didn't want to admit, something deeper than simple guilt. I could feel it, a tension in the air, a shadow in his expression, a hesitation in his voice. He kept glancing at the house, at the door, at the window, like he was waiting for something or someone. What is it? I asked softly. He hesitated. His throat moved as he swallowed hard. Lena, he said slowly, before you see my parents, I need to tell you something, but I don't know how to say it. A cold, uneasy feeling spread through me, because this wasn't just about the past. Something was coming, something his mother would never admit, something Daniel feared, something his father, silent, observant, apparently would speak about. And whatever it was, I knew it would change everything. The bench beneath us felt old, almost fragile, the wood softened by years of sun and rain. It creaked every time one of us shifted, as if reminding us that we, too, were worn down by time. Daniel sat on the far end of the bench, leaving a careful distance between us. It was strange. Once, he couldn't sit close enough. Now he seemed afraid to even brush against the air around me. The apricot tree above us rustled gently, its branches swaying with the warm wind. The fruits hung heavy, and every now and then one would fall to the grass, landing with a soft sound that felt louder than it should have in the silence between us. Daniel took a slow breath. You look different, he said softly. I kept my eyes on the ground. People change. He stared at me for a long moment, and I felt it even though I didn't look back. I don't mean it in a bad way, he said. You look stronger. Stronger. That word settled inside me like something half true, half painful. Strength doesn't always come willingly. Sometimes it grows from surviving what you never should have endured. I finally lifted my eyes to him. Why are your parents here, Daniel? You still haven't answered that. He rubbed his hands together, a nervous habit I had seen only a few times during our marriage, mostly when he was hiding something. They came because they think there's still something left between us, he murmured. A soft, humorless smile crossed my lips. They always believed what they wanted, not what was real. His shoulders dropped a little, like the weight of that truth hit him harder than he expected. The silence stretched again, not empty, but full of tension, full of memories neither of us wanted to touch. After a moment, Daniel spoke. I know you don't owe me anything, he said, but I need to tell you something about that night, 7 years ago. My heartbeat changed. It slowed, then quickened, then steadied again. That night, the night everything shattered, was a wound I had hidden deep under layers of silence. Daniel, don't, I whispered. We don't need to relive. We do, he cut in, his voice suddenly firm. Because you left thinking I didn't care. Thinking I didn't fight for you, but that's not the whole truth. I looked at him sharply. What other truth is there? I asked. I found messages. I found a hotel receipt. You didn't deny it. You didn't apologize. You just stood there while your mother blamed me for everything. His jaw tightened. He looked away, toward the fields, where the sun painted long shadows across the grass. I was a coward, he whispered. The words left his mouth slowly, as if they were too heavy to push out. I was a coward who let everyone speak for me, even when they were wrong. His voice cracked slightly, especially when they were wrong. My throat felt tight. I hated that a part of me still reacted to his pain. Daniel, I said, you didn't just cheat. You broke something in me that I didn't know could break. He shut his eyes, and for a moment, he looked like he was fighting something inside his own chest. I know, he whispered. The air felt too still, too tense. We stayed quiet for a while, listening to the breeze move through the grass. A dog barked in the distance. A motorcycle passed on the far road. Life continued as if our history didn't matter to the world at all. Then Daniel said something that made my skin prickle. Do you ever think about what we could have been if things had gone differently? I looked at him carefully, not angrily, just cautiously, like touching something sharp. No, I said honestly. I don't let myself think like that. He nodded slowly, but his fingers curled into tight fists. It wasn't just one woman, I said softly, echoing the truth we both knew. His eyes lifted to mine, full of guilt. No, he admitted, it wasn't. That single word hung in the air like a confession with 1,000 stories behind it. Suddenly, something shifted in his expression. A flicker of fear, guilt, and something else I couldn't name. He kept glancing toward the road, toward the house, toward the gate. Daniel, I said quietly, what are you not telling me? He looked at me then, really looked, and the fear in his eyes made my stomach twist. Lena, I'm not sure how you'll react, he said. But before you face my parents, you need to know something I should have told you years ago. I swallowed hard. Then tell me. He hesitated. His silence grew longer, heavier. The wind suddenly cooled, brushing against my skin like a warning. 7 years ago, he said slowly. After everything happened, my mother asked you to leave, to walk away quietly. I nodded. I remember. But she didn't tell you the real reason she wanted you gone. My chest tightened. What reason? Daniel didn't answer. He only looked at the ground as if it could speak for him. I felt a wave of unease wash over me. What is it, Daniel? My voice trembled slightly. What aren't you saying? I'm not the only one who should talk, he murmured. My father, he knows more than anyone, and he's tired of hiding it. His father, the silent one, the one who rarely spoke but always watched. I remembered the way he looked at me the day I left, not angry, not cold, but almost sorry. At the time, I didn't understand it. Now that memory pressed against me like a whisper from the past. Your mother blamed me for ruining your family, I said quietly. Daniel's eyes softened with regret. She blamed you to protect the family name, he said. And to protect something else. I stared at him. Protect what? He took a deep breath. Lena, you didn't leave because of one affair. You left because you found out something bigger, something she begged you to hide. A chill swept up my arms. I shook my head slowly. What are you talking about? Daniel opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, a car door slammed outside. We both turned sharply. Voices, footsteps, growing louder. They're here, Daniel whispered, his face pale. My heart thudded. The truth, whatever it was coming, and from the way Daniel sat frozen beside me, I knew one thing with frightening clarity. He wasn't scared of my reaction. He was scared of the truth itself. The footsteps grew louder, steady on the dry ground. I felt the wind still around us, as if the world was holding its breath. Daniel stood first. His hands shook slightly, and his eyes stayed on the approaching figures. A moment later, I saw them, His parents. His mother walked fast, her chin lifted, her face tight with disapproval, the same look she wore the night she told me to leave before I embarrassed the family even more. Her hair was pinned back too tightly, her dress perfect, not a single wrinkle. She looked exactly the same. His father walked behind her, slow, quiet, his shoulders stiff, but his eyes held something heavy, something he had been carrying for too long. My heart pounded as they stopped in front of us. His mother didn't waste a second. "Lena," she snapped, her voice sharp and bright with false confidence. "We need to talk. This drama has gone on long enough." I said nothing. I simply looked at her, calm, steady, unmoved. Daniel's mother hated silence. She thrived on control, on explanations, on pushing others beneath her voice. So she continued. "You left my son over a childish misunderstanding," she said, pointing an accusing finger toward me. "You destroyed our family over nothing. You—" "Mom, stop," Daniel whispered. She ignored him. "You broke your vows first by walking out. Not Daniel. He made mistakes, yes, but mistakes can be forgiven. Families don't fall apart because of one woman." Daniel flinched. I stood up slowly. "One woman?" I repeated softly. "Is that the story you still tell yourself?" Her face twisted, but she didn't back down. "At least he tried to fix it," she said coldly. "Unlike you." Daniel's shoulders tensed. "Mom," he said more firmly, "that's not the truth." She cut him off again with a glare, and that's when his father spoke, a quiet, tired voice. "Maria," he said, "enough." She froze. Everyone froze, because in all the years I had known this family, I had barely heard this man raise his voice. When he spoke, people listened, not because he demanded it, but because it meant something important. Maria turned to him sharply. "What do you think you're doing?" she hissed. "I'm telling the truth," he said quietly. Finally. A heavy, almost frightening silence dropped over us. Daniel looked at his father with wide eyes. "Dad, don't." But his father didn't stop. He stepped forward until he stood only a few feet from me. "Lena," he said softly, "you didn't leave because Daniel cheated. You left because you found out something else. Something Maria begged you to bury." My breath caught. The memory rushed back. The night I found the hotel receipt, the messages, the lies, and the moment afterward that his mother cornered me in her kitchen, whispering threats behind a perfect smile. His mother's face paled. "Don't you dare," she breathed. But it was too late. His father exhaled, a long, tired breath, like a man who had carried the same secret for far too many years. "Daniel wasn't the only one who lied to you," he said. "Maria did too. We all did." My stomach tightened. "What secret?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked at Daniel first, then at me. 7 years ago, that woman Daniel met wasn't just a stranger. The world felt still. Even the wind seemed to pause. His father's voice dropped. "She was someone we knew." Daniel closed his eyes. He didn't deny it. He didn't argue. He just stood there, breathing painfully. My hands shook. "Who?" I whispered. His father swallowed hard. Then he said the words that shattered the ground beneath me. "She worked for us." My heart stopped. "She?" I repeated. "Who?" His father's voice broke a little. "She was the young nanny we hired for the summer. Maria knew for weeks. She tried to hide it. She tried to pay her off. But when you found out, she begged you to disappear quietly, to protect the family name, to protect the business, to protect Daniel." A ringing sound filled my ears, sharp, overwhelming, as if the truth itself was cutting through me. I remembered the nanny. Barely. She was young, maybe 19, quiet, always looking overwhelmed, and suddenly everything made horrible sense. The way she avoided my eyes, the way Maria whispered with her behind closed doors, the way Daniel never looked at her directly when I entered the room. I felt sick. Daniel finally lifted his head, eyes wet with guilt. "I was young and stupid," he whispered. "It meant nothing. I regretted it the moment it happened." But she told my mother before she told me." His voice trembled. "And Mom, she didn't want you to know, not because she cared about me, but because she didn't want people thinking our family hired staff and then used them." His mother's face twisted with anger and fear. "That girl wanted money," she shouted. "She saw an opportunity and took it. I protected you. I protected all of you." Daniel stepped back, horrified. "Mom, stop." But she couldn't stop. Her fear had taken over. "If Lena had stayed quiet, none of this would have happened," she screamed. "But she had to act like a victim." "Maria," his father snapped. "She was a victim." Silence, sharp, absolute. His father turned to me again. "I saw what happened," he said quietly. "I saw you break. I saw you walk out with nothing, and I did nothing to help you." His voice shook. "I'm sorry, Lena. I'm so sorry." I felt tears burn in my eyes, not from pain, but from the sudden, overwhelming release of 7 years of silence. Daniel's mother looked at her husband in shock, as if she couldn't believe he had betrayed her perfect story. Daniel looked lost, a man facing the truth he had avoided for far too long, and me. For the first time in years, I felt steady, calm, clear. I took a deep breath and looked at all of them. "You want to know the truth?" I said softly. "The real reason I never came back?" Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't stay because of the cheating," I said. "I didn't stay because of the nanny, or the lies, or your mother." I lifted my chin slowly. "I didn't stay because the moment I learned the truth, I realized that this family didn't break by accident. It broke because none of you valued the people you hurt." No one spoke. Even the wind stayed still. "And now," I said, my voice steady, "you want me to come back and pretend everything can be repaired?" I stepped forward, not with anger, but with clarity. "My life didn't end 7 years ago. Yours did. Because you're still stuck in that moment, still hiding it, still afraid of it." I looked at Daniel's father. "Thank you," I said softly, "for telling the truth." Then I turned to Daniel. "I loved you once," I said gently, "more than you ever understood. But I'm not the same girl who left crying, and I'm not someone who returns to broken things just because they call my name." His face crumpled. "Lena, please." "No," I whispered. "This time, I choose myself." His mother made a small, shocked sound, half gasp, half disbelief, because for the first time, I didn't bend, didn't cry, didn't shrink. I simply walked toward the gate, my steps steady and quiet. No dramatic ending, no shouting, no revenge screamed in anger. Just truth. Truth so sharp it became the revenge itself. And as I reached the gate, I spoke the final line without turning back. 7 years ago, you took my peace. Today, I take it back." And I left them standing there, broken, silent, and finally facing the truth they ran from for far too long.